Hey, Grunt, I'm talking to you. You too, Squid, Jarhead, Wingnut, Ghosty. I got a heads up for you. The Selective Service System has assigned you classification 1H. You are unfit for duty. In Title 32 of the United States Code of Federal Regulations, subsection 1630.15, Class 1H is a registrant not subject to processing or induction. In Class 1H shall be placed any registrant who is not eligible for Class 1A and is not currently subject to processing for induction. Class 1A is unrestricted military duty. So it's time to square your official records away. You should actually be a Class 1C, as I'll show you in a minute. Time to take the battle to the domestic terrorists infesting the professional class, which is really the problem because they have set this system up to basically ensure that nobody, no able-bodied man in the United States has any civil liberties because they've been classified as incompetent, basically. You're not eligible for Class 1A. You're incompetent to be in the military. You may be able-bodied, but you're feeble-minded. And so they're appointing a guardian for us. And so, let me get through the preliminaries. I'm Rob Ryder, or that's my email address. Rob Ryder's email address is courtofrecord@aol.com, COURTOFRECORD. My phone number is 616-712-6179. I am Robert Allen Retluski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341 8664. In the United States is my address. And hey, I'm an E6, or was an E6, well, I'm still an E6. Here's my DD-214. As you can see, I got out in 1988. I'm a peacetime veteran. There isn't much on my DD-214. But one thing that's on there is I was a 52 Echo Prime Power Production Specialist. There's only 125 of those in the Army. Not to brag, when I went to the induction center and took the ASVAB test, the first time I took it, I scored a 97%. And I was in for 3 years. I got out for over a year, and I came back in, had to take it again, and the second time I scored a 96%. I'd actually gotten stupider. But it's kind of rare to have people 97% in the military. I was one of them. And to prove it wasn't a fluke, while I was in the military, they had me go take a bunch of tests. These are the CLEP tests, College Level Examination Program tests you could take in the military, and these are all the ones I passed by going in and taking a test. 52-ish semester hours by testing. So, that's enough about me. Well, almost. So when they sent me to school to be a 52 Echo, which was for a year-long school, they sent me to this place here in Fort Belvoir, and hey, this is a nuclear power plant. And from there, I went to a real nuclear power plant, Davis-Besse, where there was a time in my life where I would have been considered a subject matter expert on how the things at Davis-Besse works. That would all have been done by 1994, and a bunch of you I'm talking to now, you weren't even born yet. Right? So you just need to understand, I'm not after your wife or your money. I'm not Jody. I don't want anything that you have. I need you to help fix the problem that I've come to realize is a major malfunction here in the United States. If you wonder why your family is having their house taken, their car taken, going to jail for stupid-ass shit that makes no fucking sense, well, it's because the United States has been overrun by domestic terrorists who are infesting the professional class, pretending to be attorneys at law, judges, politicians, clerks of court, law enforcement officers, and. Well, they all have the same defect you do. They're all been considered 1H2. And I'm going to show you where this came from. If you don't know who I am, hopefully somebody sent you my video, said you need to watch this. Then if you were to go to my site, Rob Ryder, ROBBBRYDER, on YouTube, you would see I've done over almost 300 videos now. And the last two, Uncle Sam Ain't Released Me Yet and The Sin of Omission, classification 1H, are other videos having to do with this subject we're speaking of now. This is really the Reader's Digest version. That's going to basically be me reading to you a letter that I'm writing to a major that has something to do with the Selective Service System. And I found out about him by this right here, this article. It's on the Michigan Gov website, which I didn't find. A guy in Arizona found it. Bobby found it and said, "Hey, look at this." So in the reserves, I'll call it for lack of a better term, they have officers like a Selective Service Reserve Force officer. Well, that officer and his subordinates are responsible for ensuring the Selective Service agency is functioning in the state. And part of that is to have these local review boards that are supposed to review you and then give you a classification. But none of this is happening. And so, one of the things I had found, again, that was pointed out to me, was, where is it? Well, let me just do it this way. Give me just a second here. A lady had Sharon Rodnew, back in 2010, had been questioning the Selective Service system about Barack Obama and his Selective Service records. And from that came a couple of different things, one of which is, let's see, backside, front side, Selective Service, Obama. This FOIA request. This was a FOIA answer to her from the Selective Service System, National Headquarters, Arlington, Virginia, June 25th, 2010, in which they said, and this is a response to latest Freedom of Information inquiry regarding President Obama's Selective Service records dated June 18, 2010. In our previous letter, we stated the following. The 1H status assigned to him at the time was not, strictly speaking, a classification. Selective Service has not classified registrants since the draft ended in the mid-70s. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. It was not assigned to Mr. Obama as a result of any action on his part or your part, and there is no related documentation. There's nothing to say why it was done. It just was. The formal description of 1H is registrant not currently subject to processing for induction or alternate services. Well, that may be the title, but then there's a little more after that if you read the actual section. That information still stands. And then it went on to say that although postal clerks in the past may have asked registrants for identification, it would have been a matter of individual initiative. Regardless, all files are eventually matched against records provided by the Social Security Administration. Now, in the Social Security Administration, they say that they don't use your middle name as part of your legal name. They use your first name and your last name. So if mom and dad filled the paperwork out to get you a Social Security card and put your middle name in the middle name box, Social Security is just going to forget that that even exists and take it out of your legal name, and they're going to cloud the title to your property and to everything to do with you for the rest of your life until we get the record straight. Well, one of them things they've done afterwards is this thing that we're all supposed to be registered through the Selective Service and classified. I'm going to show you where it says it. Right? Point to it in the law, show you what I'm writing to the guy about. And what I'm asking you to do is, go to your senior enlisted and, go to your senior enlisted to start with. That's the place to go. And tell them what's going on. And demand that somebody go look to find out what the fuck is going on. Why are they not classifying people? Why are they not following the law. I'm going to tell you why. Because there's an insurrection by domestic terrorists who aren't actually taking any offices. They're just pretending to. They don't have a proper oath of office. They don't have a proper bond. They don't have a proper certificate of election or a certificate of appointment. They don't have anything. They're not who they say they are. They're just obstructing justice. And they need to be apprehended. And because it's an insurrection under Title 10 of the United States Code, I think it's Chapter 13, insurrection. It's either Chapter 13, Chapter 15, but I'm almost positive it's 13. We'll see in a minute. Is insurrection. And it says in there that the military can enforce the laws of the United States in the United States when no one else will do it. So I need you guys to do it. I'm dependent on the military to do it. You're our last great hope. And if you didn't know, go read your Bible and look at their centurions and understand they're talking about senior enlisted in the military. You are the backbone of the military, and you need to go make the commissioned officers do the right thing. That would include the guy who says he's the commander-in-chief. Right? That's his commission. Well, have him prove it. It better say Donald John Trump, or it's not his legal name, and he don't have any authority. More on that stuff in a minute. Anything else I wanted to cover here whilst I was here? So there's a thing called the Military Selective Service Act. That's one of the things. And I'm not really sure where I found this style, but there is another style that you can get off the Military Selective Service website, and it looks like this, right? So you go to the website, Military Selective Service Act, boom, this is the act. So they're using different numbering sequences and so forth, but that's the act. But then also in Title 32, Chapter 16, which they seem to have hid since I've done this, those other two videos, but it's still, you can find it here. It's in 32 CFR, National Defense. This is from the GPO, Government Printing Office, right? So this is gospel. This is the entire, well, parts 800 to the end, not the entire thing, but we go in just a few pages, you'll see that Title 32, right? Select the service system, page 279. So all of this is by the book simple, right? This is, don't let anybody tell you that there's any great secrets. The secret is that attorneys lie, cheat, and steal. They're fork-tongued liars. They were woed in the Bible. They're woed today, and so are the scribes and the Pharisees and the Nicolaitans and the tax collectors and all these other people who were woed in the Bible at the time of Jesus are now the professional class that we live with today. And it's a crying shame, but it is what it is, so let's just admit it and go from there. Raven Rock. Hey, anybody ever been to Raven Rock Mountain Complex? This is where the underground Pentagon is. I've actually been on the roof of the underground Pentagon. Do you know that inside this mountain, although you really can't see, it's not a very good picture, are 3-story buildings all sitting on springs. Big complex. Big stuff. A lot of things happen underground they don't talk about all the time. Okay. Give me just a second to get to what I really wanted to talk to you about. 1 second, please. Okay, so really for no other reason than other than because I can, and knowing the things that I do and being given the opportunity to do it, I'm going to make some noise about this situation because it affects everybody. You just need to understand if they take away if they say you're incompetent, right, then whoever they are, Satan's sock puppets, as far as I'm concerned, they can control your estate, your property, your life, your whatever. And so if you go to court, you're never going to win because you're incompetent. It's just a show. They're not courts of the state. None of these people have the proper paperwork to hold the office that they claim to hold. It's a fucking fraud. Okay? And so the only ones that can fix it are us. And the way that us can fix it is to make them update the records of the selective service system to make you not a 1H, but a 1A, or whatever it should be, to classify you, because part of the classification then is to recognize that you are actually in the United States. Now, this is a really, really big subject. I'm not going to try to cover all this stuff because, it's just too much. But, for those of you who are in the military, just, follow along with me, and I'm going to show you where it says in the law these certain things, and I'm going to leave it up to you to figure it out. But I'll keep, as I come up with things, doing other videos. So, based on this newsletter that was in the Michigan.gov, where it mentions Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Allen, right? He's the Selective Service Reserve Officer. And he's got an assistant, Major Robert LaPointe. And both of them work for, where's Major General? You're in here somewhere, Major General. I don't want to miss you, sir. Major General, where are you? Hope you never need, insure, responsible. Director Excellence Award, 2 quarters. Major General Michael Stone. All these guys, all these 3 officers have some knowledge of the selective service system. I'm not saying they know anything in depth about it. I'm just saying they would know who to talk to about it. Well, every state is going to have the same type of people. And so the military, so in this case, hey, they gave, if you're interested in serving on your local selective service board, please contact Major Robert LaPointe. Gave his email address, so I said, I'm going to write that man a letter. That's what I'm doing right now. And I'm going to use this letter as a teaching guide before I send it to him. But here's what I'm saying. Major Robert LaPointe. Major LaPointe, a news article having to do with the civilian boards of the selective service system was brought to my attention. Michigan Guardsman shows dedication to selective service. Hey, we just looked at that. Published April 19th, 2018. The article indicates you are a subject matter expert in the SSS, that'd be the selective service system from here on out, and as your email address was referenced in the article, I am taking the liberty of using it to contact you about an issue affecting all able-bodied men and women registered by the SSS. I pray you will agree with me, inform your chain of command, and ensure they take action. I have attached to this email an image of Selective Service Office reply to the inquiry for a news reporter, Sharon. I'm also providing a link you can find the reply incorporated in her story. And again, just since the idea is to learn, right? That story, if you wanted to find it yourself online, if you Google Sharon Rondu and select a service, hey, this will be one of the hits you get. Okay, and in here then, oh, look at that. They changed her stuff. Ain't that something? I think you're going to have to go put in Sharon Rondu and selective service to find the page again. But it was in here. Anyways, that's what... That's what this was. Not that one. We're going to need that there. Okay, and what else will I need? One other piece of information that was on here. Let's get it right now. Okay, there's the selective service FOIA answer to her question. So let's continue. Okay, so setting aside that her interest was focused on President Obama, It is what the SSS revealed regarding this classification of registrants that should cause you pause and outrage the ranks. Here is the text of the SSS's reply. In our previous letter, we stated the following. I already read this, but it's worth reading it again. The 1H status assigned to him at the time was not, strictly speaking, a classification. In other words, he wasn't properly classified. Selective Service has not classified registrants since the draft ended in the mid-70s, which is against the law. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. It was not assigned to Mr. Obama as a result of any action on his part, and there is no related documentation. The formal description of 1H is registrant not currently subject to processing for induction or alternative service. That information still stands. Although postal clerks in the past may have asked registrants for identification, it would have been a matter of individual initiative. Regardless, all files eventually matched against the records provided by the Social Security Administration. Okay. Major, WTF. Not strictly speaking a classification. Selective Service has not classified registrants since the draft ended in the mid-70s. I went in 1978, so this was just before I entered the military. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. We just said you didn't classify anybody, and yet you gave them one. And there's no paperwork. There's nothing to prove it. Stated in the following sections of Title 32, Chapter 16 of the Code of Federal Regulations is 1630.2, classes. Each registrant shall be classified in one of the classes prescribed in this part. 1630.10, Class 1A, available for unrestricted military service. All registrants available for unrestricted military service shall be classified in Class 1-A. 1630.15, Class 1-H, registrant not subject to processing for induction. In Class 1H shall be placed any registrant who is not eligible for Class 1A and is not currently subject to processing for induction. Well, everybody is subject to processing for induction. That's what the registration is about. The only reason you wouldn't be is because they found you unfit for duty. Because one of the things you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go to a local board to be classified and tested. It's in the law. 1633.8, basis of classification. The registrant's classification shall be determined on the basis of the official forms of the Selective Service System and other written information in his file, oral statements, which means shit not in his file, if made by the registrant at his personal appearance before the board, and oral statements, again, nothing written, if made by the registrant's witness at his personal appearance. Well, who's the witness? Because I don't know anybody who's gone to one of these to be classified. So then it must have been done by somebody's witness. Of course, they're saying they're not classifying anybody. So, what is it they're doing? Any information in any written summary of the oral information presented at the registrant's personal appearance that was prepared by an official of the Selective Service System or by the registrant will be placed in the registrant's file. The file shall be subject to review by the registrant during normal business hours. Where is the file? Major, strictly speaking, not classifying registrants is an act of treason and a court-martial offense. Assigning Class 1H to everyone is an offense against the United States Constitution, a fraud and swindle on the people of the United States that ensures the United States has no militia to defend the homeland from insurrection and domestic terrorism. And we are bombarded with it right now. Major, has anyone made an appearance before a local civilian board to be classified? who acted as registrant's witness and what was put in the registrant's file. Where's the file located that can be reviewed by the registrant? Grunt, you ever seen yours? Go find it. Go ask your first sergeant where you wanna review your file with the Selective Service System. Has the classification of current active duty personnel been changed to Class 1C to reflect their current status, or are they still 1H, not eligible for Class 1A? Well, that's out of Section 1630.12, Class 1C. Members of the Armed Forces of the United States, the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, and the Public Health Service. In Class 1C shall be placed every registrant who is or who becomes, by enlistment or appointment, a commissioned officer, a warrant officer, a pay clerk, an enlisted man, or an aviation cadet of the regular Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, the Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, or the Public Health Service. Major, are you Class 1H or Class 1C? How about you, SEAL? How about you, Special Forces, Ranger? How about you guys? Are you 1H or 1C? Please go make him show you the damn file. How about Major General Stone? How about Special Forces, Rangers, SEALs, Marines? Are they still classified as unfit for unrestricted military service? And what about veterans? Second point, no identification was acknowledged as being inspected. Although postal clerks in the past may have asked registrants for identification, it would have been an individual initiative. Regardless, all files are eventually matched against records provided by the Social Security Administration. The President specifically ordered in Proclamation number 4771, July 2nd, 1980, and amended by Proclamation number 7275, February 22nd, 2000, in 1.302, when reporting for registration, each person shall present for inspection reasonable evidence of his identity. No, it's not a matter of individual initiative. It's a fucking order from the President on a proclamation. That's stronger than an executive order. Third point, no permanent address, phone number. Social Security is acknowledged that for registrants. The second attachment, we've already looked at the letter, now we'll look at the second one, is an image of the registrant file inquiry having to do with President Obama. There is no permanent address listed, no telephone number, no related SSN, and no verification letter. Without a permanent residence, a registrant cannot be assigned to a local civilian board having jurisdiction over permanent residents within the assigned territory. It appears from the record that the registrant is derelict in their duty to make known their permanent residence and other vital information. Because in section 1633.11, assignment of registrant to a local board, it says, A registrant is assigned to a local board that has jurisdiction over his permanent address that he last furnished a Selective Service System prior to issuance of his induction order. Well, what's prior to issuance of his induction order? Everything else, such as registration. So how come it's not listed? B, the director may change a registrant's assignment when he deems it necessary to assure the fair and equitable administration of the Selective Service law. Well, that isn't happening now. So somebody please contact the director of the Selective Service System. Maybe a bunch of guys in green paint can go have lunch with them someday and put the fear of God back in the dude and tell him to do the right thing. 1615.4, duty of persons required to register. A person required by Selective Service law to register has the duty. I'm talking to the military. You know what that means. It's a duty. What happens if you don't do your duty? Well, you could be summarily executed. To complete the registration process by a method prescribed by the Director of Selective Service and to record thereon his name, date of birth, sex, Social Security account number, which they call a SSAN, not a SSN, SSAN, current mailing address, permanent residence, telephone number, date signed, and signature. Major, no telephone number is included in the inquiry report, and no verification letter is acknowledged as sent. The inquiry report indicated that SSN is a 10-digit number, not a 9-digit number, as we are led to believe. Do you know your 10-digit SSN, Major? Is the SSN not a Social Security account number? Then what is it? Well, if the SSN is not a Social Security account number, then what is it? When was it assigned to the registrant and by whom? So let's look at that real quick. That just, duh. Right? This is the deviousness of the devil. The devil is in the details. And he has infested the details. So here's this registrant file inquiry report. I don't know how you get it, but somebody got one. It's a one-page document, page 1 of 1, dated 9/9 of 08. What's a PF2 or PF23 to post? It's got something to do with a registrant file inquiry report. I don't know. But here's the SSS number that they, everybody gets one of those when they register. Last name, first name, right? There's no middle initial. Now, when they compare this to the records from Social Security, your first name isn't going to have your middle name in there unless you put in your first name your given name. Mine would be Robert Allen. So if this was me, it would say Ratluski Robert. Nevertheless, current address, well, we don't know what that is. It's blacked out. He's just somewhere in Honolulu, Hawaii. So basically he's homeless because there's no permanent address listed. Well, then, whoever this is, this is supposed to be the President of the United States, failed to follow an order. He doesn't have a telephone number. 808 with all zeros. Well, that's no telephone number, so he didn't give a telephone number. I don't know what a DLN is. Registrant date, accession date, last action date, related SSN, right? Related SSN. Right? They called it SSAN and they blacked it out. Right? So that's what they're saying is your Social Security account number. Then what's an SSN? Well, it's a 10-digit number that has 2 digits, then 7, then 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That would be 10, not 9. ID indicator 2, okay? Phone indicator, no, for N. SSAN indicator, no. Is that why there's an N there? Right? Because there's no phone indicator, so there's no SSAN indicator. I don't know what a PO indicator is, but it was a no also. What was the class? 1H. Unfit for duty. Verification letter dates. There aren't any. And then there's some other information incorporated by reference, because all this crap here would lead you to other records that they're not sharing on this page, but they exist because, well, there it is. It's incorporated by reference into this registrant file inquiry report. Now, I don't know how you get access to this, but, you guys are resourceful. Use your military training, right? Adapt. Overcome, persevere. Let's go back to our letter. Major LaPointe, what definition does Social Security or Selective Service System use to define permanent residence? Why is no permanent residence listed in the official record of the Selective Service System? If a permanent residence information is not being recorded, then how are registrants assigned to local board of jurisdiction? Which that was in section 1602.15, local board of jurisdiction. The local board of jurisdiction is the local board to which a registrant is assigned, right? He doesn't do it. He's assigned, and which has authority in accordance with the provisions of this chapter to determine his claim or to issue him an order. his local board and registrant's local board refer to the local board of jurisdiction. Is the address of the new numerically sequenced local board of jurisdiction the permanent residence address for the registrant? Because your permanent residence doesn't have to be where your house is. It's just someplace is where your record is. It's your permanent residence. When they could say your place of residence. A place of residence is a city. Right? A residence address, well, it could be your address, but it could be the address of the board. Because they're supposed to have your frickin' records. 1605-53, designation. The director of selective service shall assign each local board within a state a specific identifying number by which it shall be known. Such identifying numbers shall be assigned in numerical sequence beginning with the number 1. Anybody know what theirs is? Not acknowledging a registrant has a permanent residence within a federal judicial district separates the registrant from the civil liberties due him, including access to Article III courts of law and equity of the United States and their ability to have the laws of the United States enforced. Trust me on that one. Major. This scheme is a federal crime and a violation of the UCMJ that could be construed as an act of treason. The selective service system is being used as a weapon against the people of the United States by domestic terrorists who clandestinely classify the able body of the United States as incompetent and unfit for duty in the official records of the United States so Satan's sock puppets, can administer the registrant's estate and affairs in the United States. We can include in this scheme the fact that judges do not have proper oaths of office, official bonds, certificate of election, or certificate of appointment. They may have paper to show, but it has no legal value. Title VI of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 37, that would be 6 CFR 37, mandates that one's full legal name is the only federally recognized name for identification and defines it as an individual's first name, middle names, last name, or surname without use of initials or nicknames. And if you go to court, the judge is using the middle initial name, the attorney is using the middle initial name, the clerk is using the middle initial name. They're all using middle initial names. These are not courts of the United States. They're courts of justice formed under Talmudic law because the Noahide laws mandate that courts of justice shall be established. And as I showed in my last video, President George Bush Sr. signed into law a law that says the nation is governed by the Noahide laws. Right? Not the Constitution, the Noahide laws. Well, that's his opinion, and if that's his opinion, then he's not my president. He needs to go to a FEMA camp. He should be easy to find. He's find his wheelchair. He can't get too far. Only the military can serve under an assumed name. That would be 10 United States Code 1551. Otherwise, the use of fictitious names is a federal crime according to 18 U.S.C. 1342. These are all federal laws under the United States Code that you can look up by putting those numbers into Google and read what it says. Judicial officers, those would be judges and attorneys at law, because an attorney at law is an officer of the court. Politicians, alleged law enforcement officers, courthouse staff, county clerks, and are all using fictitious names in their official capacity. These individuals falsely claim authority under the United States, would be a violation of 18 U.S.C. 912, while terrorizing the people of the United States. People are charged under assumed names, jailed without due process, and their homes and other personal property seized by black-robed priests aided by a host of false accusers. The Constitution of the United States is wantonly violated in courtrooms where the symbol of our nation is displayed. In every courtroom is a gold-fringed flag. That flag is an Army flag. It's in AR 840-10. And it says that thing don't fly in the civilian world. And yet, there it is in the courtroom. Hell, it's in a church. It's in all these places that are really federal corporations, which somehow must have something to do with being authorized by the military government that's been in place since the Civil War, because President Abraham Lincoln declared martial law, and according to the Labor Code, second article, it says that once martial law has been declared, until there's a peace treaty or a specific proclamation to end it, it's still ongoing. That's why they killed Lincoln, because he wanted the states to get the power back. And once all them governors were made, their own commanders in chief, well, they wanted to, take care of their opponents. And so they didn't want to give it back, and they never have given it back. We're under martial law, have been since 1863. That's why everything is done by a national emergency. The Civil War ended in an armistice, not a peace treaty, and so did the First World War. So we have an international war going on and a domestic war. Everything is done by national emergency. If you go to the Federal Register, put in Federal Register, you'll see it's where all the, it's all the official doings of the United States government. And just search on the term national emergency. And in the last year, there's been over 2,000 entries made about national emergencies. And it just lists all the ongoing national emergencies. Everything is done by executive order and national emergency because we're under martial law, which means habeas corpus has been suspended, and that's why anybody who tries to get a habeas corpus done can't get it done. It's really, really evil, people. If you've not spent any time in dealing with the courts, they're evil, evil people. They will take the widow's house, and then they'll go to the bar and have a drink and chuckle about it. They'll come sit at your table and then steal your fucking property the next day. They're a bunch of evil bastards. What are you going to do about it, military? That's what your country wants to know. Major. This is a majorly big deal. So much so that I've recently added a couple of videos specifically on the fraud of the Selective Service System, posted at Rob Ryder on YouTube, to the almost 300 other videos I created in order to share the evidence of the persecution of the people of the United States by Satan's sock puppets. Chapter 13, the Title 10 of the United States Code mandates the duty of the militia and armed forces. 10, United States Code 253, during an insurrection, and I am going to be sounding the alarm and calling out the troops to end the rebellion and restore the one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's their duty. I'm talking to you, Grunt. It's your duty. Major, you have direct knowledge of the Selective Service System, and I have a voice for the enlisted, asking what will you do to protect the people of the United States from enemies, foreign and domestic? Can the enlisted depend on the commissioned to follow the orders of the civil authority ordained by God and crush this rebellion? It's time to find out who is with the one nation under God and who is against it. Let your conscience be your guide. Amen. Yeah, that'd be me, Robert Allen Rutluski, veteran. Okay, so all that based on this letter, all them little pieces, right, mainly came out of the Selective Service regulations, which is in 32 CFR, right? So Title 32, Code of Federal Regulations, Chapter 16, under Part 1630, Classification Rules, it says each registrant shall be classified in one of the classes prescribed in this part. Hey, there's Class 1A, available for unrestricted military service. All registrants available for unrestricted military service shall be in Class 1A. Well, then why did they put everybody in Class 1H? Members of the Armed Forces of the United States, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, and Public Health Service shall be in Class 1C. And it goes on and on and on. Class 1H. In Class 1A shall be placed any registrant who is not eligible for Class 1A. Well, what's Class 1A? It means you could be unrestricted military. If you can't be unrestricted military, then what are you? You're incompetent. So, more on these, bits and pieces later. But again, I'm not making this up. This came from the Selective Service System. They have to answer the question why they're not classifying anybody. Didn't I just say shall? And they're not, strictly speaking, classified. They have not been classified since the draft of 1970s. However, 1H, which is a classification, has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. By whose authority? It was not assigned to Mr. Obama as a result of any action on his part. You don't do anything to get it. They just give it to you. There's no related documentation. You're just a frickin' 1H. And that's every able-bodied man, not just the people in the military. It's anybody. I think that, somehow they're getting rid of the distinction between males and females because of the way they handle foreclosures. You can see that they're bringing up the thing about the Selective Service Act or the Sailors and Servicemen's Act or whatever the hell it is about foreclosures, and they need to check first to see if you're active duty. And they check for males and females. So that's where we are. Okay, you'll have a great day, and I hope you got something out of it. Please go talk to your chain of command and start barking a bit. Your mom and dad are depending on you, as are your children, your wife, your loved ones, your friends and neighbors. We're all dependent on you. So make them proud. Have a great day. See you.